Imagine a time, 1,000 years past, where the foundations of modern Russia first began to form. Picture a vast federation of Slavic tribes scattered across the expansive landscapes of Eastern Europe, their lives and cultures as diverse as the terrain they inhabited. This was the world of the 9th century, a world on the brink of transformation. Enter the Varangians, a group of legendary warriors from Scandinavia who would play a pivotal role in this transformation. Under their rule, these disparate Slavic tribes were united to form what we now know as the Kievan Rus. This was not merely a consolidation of power, but a fusion of cultures, a melding of Varangian and Slavic traditions that would lay the groundwork for a distinctly Russian identity. But the birth of Russia was not just about political and cultural unification. It was also a spiritual journey, a journey that reached a turning point in the year 988. This was the year of the Great Conversion, a moment of profound historical significance when Vladimir the Great, the Grand Prince of Kiev, embraced Christianity. Vladimir's conversion was not a solitary act of faith. It was a groundbreaking decision that transformed the religious landscape of the Kievan Rus, leading to the widespread adoption of Orthodox Christianity. This was a shift that would shape not only the spiritual life of the people, but also their art, their literature, and their worldview. So what we see in the 9th century is the birth of a nation born from a fusion of cultures, united under the rule of fierce warriors and baptized in the faith of Orthodox Christianity. This was a time of transformation, a time of unification, a time of spiritual awakening. This was the dawn of Russian history, a beginning steeped in faith and conquest. As the sun rose on the 13th century, it cast shadows of horsemen from the east. This marked the beginning of a new era, an era of Mongol dominance, which came to be known as the Mongol Yoke. The Mongol invasion of Russia was a cataclysmic event that lasted for more than 2 centuries, from the early 13th until the late 15th century. This period saw the land of Rus subjected to the will of the Great Khan, the Mongol ruler, who imposed a brutal regime of tribute and control. The Mongols, led by Batu Khan, a grandson of Genghis Khan, swept across the vast Russian plains, sacking cities, ravaging the countryside, and instilling a deep sense of fear. The Mongols demanded tribute from the Russian principalities. This was not merely a tax, but a symbol of subjugation. The Mongols had no interest in ruling directly. Instead, they established a system where the Russian princes were left in charge of their lands, but were required to pay regular tribute to the Mongol Khans. This tribute system was a harsh one, often leading to heavy taxation and economic hardship for the Russian people. But the Mongol rule was not just about exploitation. It significantly influenced the development of Russia's political traditions and structures. The Mongols introduced the concept of absolute power, centralized rule, and bureaucracy, which became integral parts of the Russian state. They also helped to unify the disparate Russian principalities under a single political structure, inadvertently laying the groundwork for the emergence of the Russian nation. Moreover, the Mongol yoke exposed Russia to the wider world. It brought new ideas, technologies, and cultural influences from the East. This fusion of cultures left a profound imprint on Russian society, influencing its art, architecture, and literature. The Mongol rule was a challenging period, indeed, but it was also a transformative one. It reshaped Russia's political landscape, accelerated its consolidation, and enriched its cultural heritage. It was a period of subjugation, yes, but it was also a crucible for future Russian statehood. The Mongol rule, a period of subjugation, was also a crucible for future Russian statehood. Out of the ashes of Mongol rule, a new power began to rise, the city of Moscow. As the Mongol yoke began to loosen its grip, Moscow emerged, not only as a city, but as a symbol of Russian resilience and ambition. In the early 14th century, Moscow was but a small principality under the rule of Ivan I, also known as Ivan Moneybag. Despite his unflattering nickname, Ivan was a shrewd and calculating leader. Recognizing the potential of his city, he struck a deal with the Mongols, collecting their tributes from the Russian lands on their behalf. This arrangement not only garnered him favor with the Mongols, but also significantly increased Moscow's wealth and influence. Ivan's political acumen didn't stop there. He skillfully married his children into the noble families of neighboring principalities, further extending Moscow's reach. Through these alliances, he was able to annex surrounding territories, steadily expanding Moscow's dominion. However, Moscow's rise to prominence was not solely a result of political maneuvering. It was also deeply intertwined with the spiritual life of the Russian people. In the late 14th century, the seat of the Russian Orthodox Church moved to Moscow. The city became a spiritual beacon, attracting pilgrims and religious scholars from all over the country. This spiritual significance further elevated Moscow's status, reinforcing its central role in Russian life. As Moscow's influence grew, so did its resolve to liberate the Russian lands from the Mongol yoke. It was Dmitry Donskoy, a descendant of Ivan I, who led the first major rebellion against the Mongols in the Battle of Kulikovo. Although the Mongols regained control shortly after, this battle was a turning point, a glimpse of the independence that was to come. From the ashes of subjugation, the dawn of a new era was rising, with Moscow at its helm. Moscow's rise to prominence was a testament to the resilience of the Russian spirit, a beacon of hope amidst the hardships of the Mongol rule. It paved the way for the liberation of the Russian lands and the birth of a unified Russian state. But with growth comes growing pains, and Russia was not exempt from this rule. Our journey through time now brings us to a pivotal period in Russian history, known as the Time of Troubles. This was a time of political crisis and interregnum that followed the end of the Rurik dynasty, which had been the ruling force in Russia for over 7 centuries. The demise of the Rurik dynasty left a power vacuum in its wake, and the struggle to fill it triggered a period of chaos and civil unrest that lasted from the late 16th to the early 17th century. This era was marked by widespread famine, foreign invasion, and the rise and fall of several pretenders to the throne. The Time of Troubles began with the death of Tsar Fyodor I, the last of the Rurik dynasty, in 1598. Fyodor's death led to a succession crisis, as he left no male heir. This kicked off a period of political instability, with various factions vying for control. The country was plunged into chaos as power shifted from one claimant to another, each with their own vision for Russia's future. As this political turmoil unfolded, Russia was also grappling with other challenges. The country was struck by a severe famine that lasted from 1601 to 1603, claiming the lives of perhaps up to a third of the population. The social and economic impact of this famine cannot be understated. It worsened the already volatile political climate, leading to revolts and mutinies. The Time of Troubles was not merely a period of strife and suffering, however. It was also a time of transformation. The chaos and civil unrest eventually led to the establishment of the Romanov dynasty in 1613, marking the end of the Time of Troubles. The Romanovs would rule Russia for over 3 centuries, overseeing its rise as a global power. In the midst of hardship, Russia managed to sow the seeds of its future greatness. The Time of Troubles was a crucible that tested and ultimately strengthened the nation. Yet, even in times of trouble, the seeds of future greatness were sown. With a new dynasty on the throne, Russia was set for a period of expansion, reform, and ultimately revolution. This new dynasty was none other than the Romanovs, who took the reins in the 17th century. Their reign was marked by a series of events that would shape Russia's identity for centuries to come. Among the most influential of the Romanovs were Peter the Great and Catherine the Great. Peter the Great, known for his towering stature and equally towering ambitions, set out to modernize Russia. He looked west for inspiration, bringing European customs, technology, and even fashion to the Russian court. His efforts to westernize Russia were continued by Catherine the Great, who was herself a Westerner by birth. She worked tirelessly to bring the Enlightenment to Russia, encouraging education, the arts, and modern governance. However, the Romanov dynasty was not without its dark times. The late 19th and early 20th centuries saw growing discontent among the Russian populace. The gap between the rich and the poor was widening, and the working class was growing restless. This unrest eventually culminated in the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917, which marked the end of the Romanov dynasty and the beginning of a new era in Russian history. The Soviet era that followed was one of immense global impact. The USSR emerged as a superpower, its influence felt around the world, It was a time of rapid industrialization, political upheaval, and ideological conflict. The Soviet Union played a pivotal role in some of the 20th century's most defining moments, from World War II to the space race. In this era, we see Russia transformed from a sprawling empire ruled by monarchs to a global powerhouse guided by the principles of socialism. The impact of the Soviet era on the world stage cannot be overstated. It was a time of great change, not just for Russia, but for the entire world. The Romanovs' reign ended in revolution, giving birth to a new era, that of the Soviet Union. This transition from monarchy to socialism marked a pivotal moment in Russian history, forever altering the course of the nation's journey through time. In the blink of an eye, the world changed and the USSR fell, paving the way for modern Russia. It was the year 1991 when the decades-long reign of the Soviet Union came to a sudden end. The dissolution of the USSR was a monumental event, a seismic shift that sent shockwaves through the international community. This was a time of great upheaval and uncertainty, with the former Soviet republics finding themselves thrust onto a new path, forging their own independent identities. In Russia, the 90s were marked by a whirlwind of economic and political changes. The country transitioned from a centrally planned economy to a market-based one, a shift that was not without its trials and tribulations. The decade was marked by economic instability, with the sudden privatization of industries leading to a rise in oligarchs and a widening wealth gap. Politically, the 90s were a time of transformation as well. The Russian Federation was born, and Boris Yeltsin took the helm as its first president. But it was in the year 2000, with the rise of Vladimir Putin, that the modern face of Russia truly began to take shape. Under Putin's leadership, Russia has sought to re-establish itself on the global stage, often in ways that have caused tensions with the West. From the annexation of Crimea to involvement in the Syrian conflict, Russia has made its presence known, asserting its influence and power. Yet amid the geopolitical maneuverings, it's important to remember the people of Russia. They've witnessed the fall of a superpower, navigated the rocky transition to a market economy, and are now living under a leadership that is both revered and reviled. They've shown resilience in the face of adversity and change, a testament to their enduring spirit. Today, Russia stands as a complex and intriguing nation, a blend of old and new, east and west, tradition and innovation. It's a country that's come a long way since the fall of the USSR, and one that continues to evolve and adapt. From the ashes of the USSR, modern Russia rose, a testament to the enduring spirit of its people. From the birth of Kievan Rus to the rise of modern Russia, our journey has spanned over 1,000 years. We've seen the formation of a nation, the rise and fall of empires, the endurance of people, and the transformation of society. In the hushed whispers of the past, we heard the birth cries of Kievan Rus, a federation of Slavic tribes under the rule of Varangian nobility, marking the dawn of Russian civilization. We stood witness to the Mongol yoke, a period of subjugation under the Golden Horde, which, despite its harshness, influenced the development of Russian culture and statehood. Our gaze then turned to the rise of Moscow, a city that emerged from obscurity to become the political and spiritual heart of Russia. We braved the time of troubles, a tumultuous era of political instability and social unrest, only to see the nation rise from the ashes under the rule of the Romanov dynasty. Under the Romanovs, Russia transformed from a medieval state to a colossal empire, only to be shaken to its core by the tides of revolution. We then journeyed through the Soviet era, a time of radical change, conflict, and contradiction, marked by the horrors of war, the thrill of space exploration, and the stark realities of life behind the Iron Curtain. Our journey then took us to the fall of the USSR and the rise of modern Russia, a period of renewed hope, uncertainty, and change. And through it all, we've seen a nation and its people endure, adapt, and transform. Each chapter, each era of Russian history is a testament to the resilience of its people, their capacity for transformation, and their enduring spirit. The past echoes in the present, shaping the future in ways we may not fully comprehend. And so our journey through time ends, but the story of Russia continues, an enduring saga of resilience and transformation.